I meant to say that before you started struggling.
I know.
Oh, Chris is gone.
Just a second.
Chris is in one.
Yeah, this is the time.
Wow.
It says loading.
The hamsters are ready to wheel.
Ready to go.
I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It is Monday, December 16th, 2024, 7 p.m. Chief, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, would you please read or call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Wells.
Here.
Osenga.
Here.
Kreitz.
Here.
Finch is excused. Barnwell.
Here.
Warner. Here. And Mayor McClure.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. We're now at citizen comments on any subject except items scheduled for public hearing. We have one public hearing, and it is on the budget. So if you want to speak to the budget, I'd ask you to wait until the public hearing item, which is Resolution 059. At this time, you can speak on any topic other than budgetary things. And you'll have 3 minutes. There's a 36-minute total time. And the people who have signed in will get first shot, and then I'll call for hands after that. Madam Clerk, who has signed in?
First one is Samantha Allen.
Okay. And you know that you can set the stage for, you need the name and inside or outside city limits, you'll be the first.
Okay. Hi, I'm Samantha. I'm inside city limits. I'd like to thank you, council members, for providing your feedback during our recent work session 2 weeks ago. We took your feedback to the drawing board and we returned to you an economic development partnership agreement, which is attached to your packet as a laydown, and it highlights, we were careful to highlight the city's priorities while maintaining the sustainability of our services. So I'm just introducing this proposal, and the contract is similarly structured.
Sorry?
I don't know that we have a laydown.
It was received via email previously. Everybody received it via email.
Okay.
It's not in the packet, but it was received.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
So the contract is similarly structured as it always has been around our 3 primary service categories of economic development and visitor services, information, and destination management. And then within the contract, these categories encompass some itemized services while still allowing flexibility for the evolving needs of the city. And these services, along with their associated costs, can be found under Section 3 in the scope of services. And these include year-round visitor center operations, printed and digital information publications, Seward.com website management, and economic development initiatives. And I'll come back and detail the scope of services a little more closely in the later public hearing section. I'll be careful not to speak to the budget, but ultimately the agreement closely, I just want to bring to your attention that the agreement closely mirrors the contracts between other cities and chambers on the peninsula, and upon request of council and administration, it clearly outlines the services we wish to offer along with associated costs, and it's also important to mention that it is a 4-year term. So we're confident that this economic development partnership represents a fair and balanced partnership that will continue to deliver meaningful impacts for the city and the chamber and the communities that we collectively serve. So I'd also just like to say that I'm so proud of the work that we do to support our local year-round economy and enhance the quality of life, and the services that we hope to continue to provide are important to helping keep Seward a vital place to promote year-round business and to make it a fun place to live for everyone that does live here. So the Seward Chamber is very eager to collaboratively work with the city on these initiatives in economic development and sustainable tourism. So I look forward to talking a little bit more in the comment section later. So thanks again for that work session.
Okay, thank you. Who's next, Madam Clerk?
The next one is Annette Rollick. Rollick.
Thank you. My name is Annette Vrolik. I am outside of Seward city limits. I am here on behalf of the American Cancer Society and in support of the Seward Chamber of Commerce. I manage the Seward Polar Bear Jump, which I think all of you are familiar with. I drove down from Anchorage to be here, and I am thankful that Councilmember Warner invited me to come speak on behalf of the Chamber. I have personally seen the benefits of what the Chamber does to support us. I'm a Chamber member in the Mat-Su, on the peninsula, and here in Seward, Soldotna and Kenai Peninsula as well. And I can tell you that I have also had opportunities to work with Samantha outside of the city in the Mat-Su, where she has been promoting the city of Seward. And I've also seen thusly where she has not had the support to provide the same level of opportunities to people outside of Seward to know what Seward is about, with the lack of support that she has gone through this past year. So I know that I personally turn to the Chamber when I need support for my event, when I'm looking for resources outside of my event, and I am just thankful to Samantha and her entire team for all the years of dedication that she has provided me as a Seward Chamber member. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
The next one is Jacob Caldwell.
Good evening, Jacob Caldwell, outside city limits. I'm here for Kenai Aviation. Just give a quick update on the Essential Air Service bid proposal. So both us and Reeve Alaska have submitted our proposals. Those are in the public comment period right now. That comment period ends on Thursday. So for anyone in the community, please get in there, give your input, look at the proposal that we have, look at what Reeve has. If you're in support of one of those two, please go ahead and make that known. Just talking about kind of the differences, both operations are great. Whoever you guys end up with, you've got top class Alaska focused operators. What Kenai Aviation does bring over what Reeve's able to do right now is we have a full integrated online booking system that links in with Expedia, Kayak, Google Flights, all those things. So finding our flights is going to be a lot easier. The other big difference is we operate right in and out of the Ted Stevens International Terminal. So connecting for inbound and outbound passengers, you're right there in the same building. We're right down by where Ravens gates are. So you grab your bag, you walk right up, you check in with your flight. And then the other big thing, of course, is, as we've talked about before, I've spent the last year working with the company to develop a new instrument approach into Seward. It's going to greatly increase our reliability of operations. And it sounds like that is on track for approval at the end of February, which would be pretty in line with what time service start could be with this contract. So excited for those things. Had a great day here, running around meeting with businesses and other community members, just talking about how we can come be part of this community and support the local community with air service if awarded. Look forward to hopefully get to work with you guys here in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Russ White.
Hi, Russ White, inside city limits. Also, Amanda, who is speaking next. This is for both of us. I just wanted to give an update on what we're doing at Sports and Rec again. We had Pickleball League start on Saturday, and that league is full. So if you're interested in watching some pros out there, come on on Saturday at 12:30 to 2. And then on Sundays, we continue to have open pickleball if you want to play yourself, and that's from 12 to 2. Some big events that we have coming up that I wanted to get the word out for. We're Thursday, we have Christmas Craft Series, or I guess it's just a one-off. Starts at 5:30 p.m. You can sign up at sewer.recdesk.com. We have the crafts ready and available, just looking for people to come and enjoy the night with us. And Saturday, one of our bigger events that was really popular last year, we have the Solstice Walk. Kind of piggyback off of the ski club, what they did. But we have just a walk around 2 lakes. We'll light it up with candles. And it was really nice. We had, I think, over 100 people come last year. So, yeah, come walk with us at 6 p.m. on Saturday around 2 lakes, and we'll decorate it and make it look nice. And then going right into Sunday, we have the Santa Run. It's just a fun run along the waterfront. If you're interested in dressing up like Santa or just want to be festive, come on down there. Sign-ups are also on sewer.recdesk.com. And yeah, after the run, we'll go to the library community room and decorate cookies together. And last couple things, we have league signups already starting up. So if you're interested in volleyball, racquetball, or basketball, that's available on our website as well. So get your team together, get signed up for that. Also, archery, our next class is up and available for sign up. If you have any kiddos that would like to get in our next session, starts January 14th, I believe. So, thanks, guys.
Thank you. Madam Clerk.
Amanda, can't read the last name. She's Christiana Smith.
Hi, my name is Christiana Smith. I live outside Seward city limits. Looking through the packet for tonight's meeting, I am glad to see that there will be a presentation on the update of the teen recreation room. I was a little disappointed that that presentation wasn't made available in the packet as other presentations have been, or at least some of the talking points that would be in that presentation. It's a little hard to speak to. Speaking before the presentation, I was also a little disappointed to see that the same contract was coming back. That was postponed. Some of the things I remember being discussed with the postponement was transportation, and seeing that that wasn't added to it makes me a little bit disappointed. As a parent of someone with a child at the elementary level of Boys and Girls Club, and as I'm now an on-call employee of Boys and Girls Club, but was working anywhere from 2 to 5 days a week previous to this past Friday. It's difficult when you don't have a job you can step away from for the after-school activities and sports. So my daughter was unable, she showed interest in doing the basketball club after school the last 4 weeks, and unfortunately due to her father's availability and mine, she was not able to secure a sustainable pickup plan to be able to do that. I'm sure she is not the only child in the city that has those issues. Getting initiated in sports early on usually just decreases risk factors for early initiation and substance use later on in their life. And I would like the city to continue looking for avenues, whether it's through Boys and Girls Club or possibly extending your contract with Seward City Tours to offer transportation to the after-school programs, whether it's operated by Boys and Girls Club or the City of Seward Parks and Rec. Because it's not just elementary school, there's tutoring available at middle school, there's after-school sports that start after school, there's after-school sports that are delayed because of lack of gyms that start later, and transportation may be an issue.
Sorry about that.
I tried to stop it.
Now it won't stop.
Okay. There.
Okay, that's all right. Madam Clerk,
That is all that is signed up.
Does anyone else wish to speak at this time? All you gotta do is let me know. Okay, seeing none, you sure? Okay. Close the citizen comment time. And it's time for the approval of the agenda and the consent agenda, and I'd ask for a motion to approve and a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda.
Second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. I have a couple of changes I'd like to make right off the top. I'd like to remove from the consent agenda, I gotta find it, the, in item D, other items, number 2, non-objection to the renewal of the marijuana license for Tufted Puffin, and also item number 3, non-objection to the renewal of the marijuana license for Tufted Puffin at Port Avenue. So both of those due to conflict. And we'll address those in other new business after the resolution, so it would be later on in item number 10, correct? Nobody's disputing it, so I always have to figure where to put those things. Any other changes anyone wants to make? Okay, seeing none, we're ready to vote on the agenda and the amended agenda.
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda with the two amended to be moved to the new business. Warner,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That your amended and your agenda and consent agenda has been approved, and on that agenda and consent agenda is the approval of the November 25th, 2024 City Council meeting minutes, Resolution 2024-072, authorizing the city manager to accept a grant from the Public Library Association's Digital Literacy Incentive Program in the amount of $5,000. Resolution 2024-073, adopting the 2024 City of Seward Hazard Mitigation Plan with the Kenai Peninsula Borough and City of Seldovia, and the non-objection to the renewal of liquor license for the Lone Chicharron Taqueria.
Okay, thank you very much. Next we have the city manager report. It's on page 5 if you have a packet. Madam City Manager, what you got to report?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, I would like to report that my pickleball team, Kitchen Confidential, is starting the season out 2-0, and I'm very excited about that. I would also like to thank everybody for the Christmas tree lighting. Was that recently? Sorry, time is a whirl now. That was such a wonderful event and really great to see so many people involved across the community. Some big news in the library realm. We recently offered the position of library director to a Miss Yolanta Ryan from Skagway, and she accepted. So she will be starting that position at the end of January. Her family is moving up from Skagway, and we're really excited about having her and her family join us in Seward as a whole and as the library director. She currently works for the National Park Service down there and has experience in interpretation and education, as well as previous experience at the Haynes Public Library. So we're very excited about that. I also would like to point out in the city manager's report, you will see a justification for hiring Sturgeon Electric outside of a resolution, and that is for the October 12th windstorm. And so this doesn't happen very often, but in an emergency situation like that, we authorized the work to start, and then it went over the threshold that would usually require a resolution. That being said, it was an emergency situation. It was authorized and can be done so in that realm, and then we just bring it back to you to say, hey, we did this, don't worry, or hey, we did this, we handled it during an emergency, and with that we were able to get electricity back to our customers in a much more expedient fashion. So in the long run, definitely saving a lot of money on fuel. I also would like to point out that the community development staff is still taking comments for the comprehensive plan, and we'll be doing that for a few more weeks, so definitely feel free to get that in. And thank you to council for sending Jason and I to AML this past week. It was really informative and a great opportunity to connect with both our council members in a different environment, our attorney in his office, and a lot of the municipal managers and mayors from across the state.
Okay, Jason, did you have anything to say?
No comments, thank you.
Okay, council, do you have any questions, comments for the city manager? Councilmember Warner and I were up at AML also. I was there for the Conference of Mayors. I was just there for basically an evening and a day and another evening, and I'll speak to that a bit later. And Councilmember Warner was there for the whole shebang and got to meet a lot of people. It was a very good interaction. So anything at all. The tree lighting was very fun. Had fun with the wrench. Okay, moving on to the city attorney report, which you'll find on page 23, and we have our city attorney right there.
You do. Good evening. Keep mine pretty short. November was a little bit lighter than October had been, particularly just very busy. The most interesting thing on there, I usually try to pick one that's sort of exciting or interesting. And we've finally got, been in that McDonald case for some time. And while Kat and Jason were in Seward in my office, we had a small ceremony where I handed them a check for over $27,000. That was from Mr. McDonald for fines, basically, with that case, and we're still litigating attorney's fees basically on the judge's desk. So that was, so there should be some more coming if all goes well, but it was nice. It really is just an illustration kind of how long these things take. And 'cause we've been talking about this for a while. And some of that's just the way the court system, the pace at which it moves. But anyway, it's coming to a conclusion and feels really good. It's been something we've been working on in some fashion or another for years now. So that was the big highlight for last month. With that, I'll just keep it moving.
Okay. And you two were at AML for the attorneys.
I was, yeah. I didn't see you. I saw them.
Yeah, I never ran into you.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun because there's people from all over the state, and it's just a really good to share ideas and check in with people. So.
Questions from the attorney? It's good to hear about the resolution of that case, for sure. So. And, yeah, Councilmember Barnwell.
Sam, can you just kind of, for the public, just briefly explain what those violations were?
Yeah, sure. It was I believe it was called the Mount Alice Campground, but had been operating without the necessary permits for a number of years. We had we had actually worked out an agreement that to pay some fines a year prior to bringing the suit. So, like in 2022, saying you're operating outside the law, outside city codes, which require campground permits and various other things, but really I think it could be distilled down to just a permit to run a campground. And then the very next year, despite having that agreement to stop, the campground was just running again. And so that's largely what it is daily fines for operating without the city permits. And yeah, and then like I said, there'll be attorney's fees as well, and it's just kind of a question of how much. That's always the litigation after the litigation. So, does that answer it?
Yeah,
okay.
Thanks.
Anything else? Well, thank you very much, Sam.
You're welcome.
Next, we have a presentation. It's an update on the teen rec room by sports and rec staff. I see them coming forward right now. And we do have a little packet. Is this going to be a...
Yeah.
Oh, good. So the YouTube watchers can see what we have.
Sweet, thank you. So I'm Russ White, again, Sports and Recreation Manager.
Hi, I'm Amanda Speeding. I'm the Recreation Specialist in the other permanent position at Sports Rec.
Yeah, and we put together a slideshow, talk about what our plans would be for the teen rec room.
All right, great. So let's talk about the proposal and our vision first. The Parks and Recreation Department would propose Sports and Rec incorporate the teen room into their programming and provide our larger SBRD staffing. Our vision is the change in space management will help create a positive, engaging space for teens while continuing our partnership with the awesome Boys and Girls Club for elementary after-school programming. Our goal is always to achieve the best outcome for both the teens and the community. So hours of operation, I know this is really important for everybody. The current offers is 2 to 6 from Monday to Wednesday, and we are proposing 2 to 8 from Monday to Friday to offer consistent after-school programming. Great. Our mission statement that we came up with is Thank you so much. Is the Seward Parks and Recreation Teen Room is dedicated to providing a safe, welcoming, and inclusive space for all teens in Seward, Alaska. Our mission is to foster a positive environment where teens can come together, connect, and grow. With consistent hours of operation and enriching weekly programming, we aim to inspire creativity, promote personal development, and build a sense of community. We are committed to offering a space where every teen feels valued, supported, and empowered. Great, so our commitment is pretty much our most important thanks to us is first and foremost is offering a safe space for teens and also for parents to feel that their teens have a safe space to go after school, especially during the dark winter months. We want it to be very inviting and lovely. Number 2 is consistent hours of operations. This is really important. I am a kid of a single father, and consistent hours of operation were very important, and I understand the importance of that. And of course, this is more nerve-wracking than I thought. Number 3 is enriching programming for all teens to have an option to participate in. And then, of course, community engagement to keep interacting with teens and parents and partnerships like with Youth 360 to help shape the future of the teen room. So before we look forward at the teen room, we like to look back at what our team has managed to do with Sports and Rec since we've currently taken it over the last couple years.
Yeah, our current team with Mel and everyone kind of all came in together in 2023. So yeah, we just wanted to put some of these numbers. This is for AvTech Gym, these memberships. In 22, we had 178 memberships to the gym. Last year we grew that to 398, and this year so far we're at 655. And that doesn't count. That's just the people who buy memberships to go to the gym. So we also have daily visitors that take part in our programs and sports leagues. So we've been collecting that data since we started. In 23 we had a little over 11,000 visitors to the gym, and we've almost doubled that already this year to 19,500 visitors. And one thing that I feel proud of that our team was able to do, it was open 3 days a week at AvTech. When we first got in there, with no summer hours of operation. The hours of operation were also 12 to 8 p.m. And now we've been able to expand that to 7 days a week for most of the year, and during the summer, 5 days a week. And the hours have gone to 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. We've also expanded our programs that are included in the gym as well as outside the gym. So in 2022, we offered 15 programs that you could sign up for throughout the year. That included an adult league, 2 kids leagues, and 3 races. In 23, we were able to expand that to 38 programs altogether. With the same kids leagues, we offered a kids summer camp as well, and many more kids activities and programs, as well as more adult leagues and 7 races altogether. And this year, with our expanded staff, we're already at 70 programs offered, 5 adult leagues. We have 2 kids camps, summer and winter. We also have the senior camps offered as well, and 8 races. These are just programs that you sign up for too. This doesn't include our free programming that you can just show up and.
So not only that, our community involvement since we've taken over has really grown and expanded. These are just some of the businesses, nonprofits, and local entities that we're able to work with. They help sponsorship, they partnership, they donate their space. We're for the community. We're here for the community, and it just makes sense to involve the businesses that help shape Seward. So we hope to continue to deepen these connections and keep working with everyone. And thank you everyone for, always all the businesses out there. All right, great. Let's talk about the space. This is really exciting for me. We want to create a warm and welcoming space that's bright and joyful for teens to come to. We want to invest in new wood flooring, lighting installation. We have some really great furniture picked out. We really want to do a deep clean of the space. We want to paint. And then some physical things we want to put in there is a restocking of board games and puzzles, recreational games including foosball, ping pong, and musical instruments. school, work, and project area. The homework school area is going to be really warm and soft, and I think a great place for kids to hang out. New video game consoles with parental controls, of course. An art supply cabinet to encourage arts in Seward, and of course an outdoor gear library as well. The activities we will be offering, just as like foundational activities every week, is a weekly outdoor outing. We plan it on Fridays. An art and music sessions, gaming tournaments, clinics and classes, and also mind health support. We want to make sure the kids feel safe to come to us with their problems, and also our staff will be trained to help connect them with professional services. Our future goals for the team room is if we are able to grow to possibly create a third permanent position with the sports and rec to be the team room lead. We think it's really important to have a consistent member there for parents and kids to turn to if they have issues or problems or concerns, and then also supply our amazing staff there as well. And then if we're able to grow the team, we would love to offer and revive the teen council and continue the community teen involvement, to open the snack bar and provide healthy snack options. And we have some like really exciting ideas for some long-term legacy teen programming, to not just enrich the teen room experience, but to enrich the teen experience in in Seward. So they're really exciting, and yeah, we'll learn more about them later.
As for what daily operations and tracking, we'll have scan tags for teenagers coming in so we can track not only the numbers, but also know who came in and out throughout the day. And everyone at Sports and Rec, and I'm sure a few of the Parks and Rec folks will be cross-trained over there. So if we ever have anyone on vacation or out sick, anyone can step up and help out. And then we want to make it free because we just want it to be a space that serves the community and the teenagers of the area, a place where they feel safe, that they can come and go and have fun.
Not only that, I'll start really amp up the communication, both with parents and teens, by a robust social media presence and advertising throughout town as well. Thank you so much, you guys, for your time and consideration. Let us know your thoughts and suggestions. We're here for you guys. So.
Okay, thank you. Are there questions or comments from council at this time? Yeah, Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor McClure. I just want to say to both of you that I've seen the hard work that you guys have put into the programmings that you are offering to the community. My children are attendees of a lot of those, and I just want to thank you guys so much for the work that you have done, and I'm really looking forward to see what you guys can do moving forward.
Thank you so much.
I agree. Yes, Councilmember.
Yeah, I'll just echo that. You guys are awesome. Russ and Amanda know I go to that quite often.
That's about 18,000 of the 19,000 visits.
It's just such a wonderful place to go. And you guys are so welcoming, really flexible, super creative, and just professionals. And it's just it's a joy to see you guys enjoy what you're doing, and it's such an asset to our community. I really, really commend you guys for your work. Thanks. And this is super cool.
Thank you so much.
What we need.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
I would like to add one thing too, just on the budgetary. I know we're going into the budget as well. Just for clarification, all of the renovations and things were budgeted for in the FY26 budget. So we have the allocation in place with the transfer of funds from the other contract to make all of that work for the next year.
That's, yeah, that was going to be the question when we came to that, so good. Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I'm going to ask, does anyone, the budget resolution is next, so does anyone need a break before that? We're good to go? Okay. So we'll move along then to, I believe we've moved those others along. So the next item is the item for public hearing, and it's Resolution 2024-059. Madam Clerk, could you just read about that?
Resolution 2024-059, adopting the City of Seward 2025 and 2026 operating budget and setting the mill rate. This resolution had its first public hearing on November 12, 2024. The second public hearing was held on November 25th, 2024, and the resolution was amended. The final public hearing and approval is scheduled for tonight.
Okay, thank you. This has already been, we've already had the motion to adopt some time back, or to approve, I mean. So we're here for our next public hearing and last public hearing. Administration, do you have anything to say before the public hearing, or do you want to speak to things after?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I would just like to add one note that I have submitted a requested budget amendments with amendments 1 through 11, and these budget amendments add the final expenses to cover the salaries and the retirements of the firefighter positions. And so what we did with those budget amendments was we increased the transfer from the CVP funds, the commercial vessel passenger funds from the cruise ships, from annual of $20,000 to $70,000. And so these funds are head tax funds from cruise ship passengers that help pay for amenities and services in our community that passengers use. And so many times when a cruise ship comes into town, our firefighters, EMTs will show up with SBAC as well to help any any cruise ship passenger who needs to be assisted to the hospital. That's a frequent occurrence during the summer. So we were able to use some of those funds to cover those salaries from the 2 new firefighter positions. And then we also we're also recommending a decrease in several line items in the firefighter, or in the fire and volunteer fire budgets, to make up for the remainder of those budget discrepancies. The other big decrease you will see in 7009 under administration for contracted services. This is the city manager budget, and we are proposing decreasing FY25 and 26 by an additional $45,000. And so originally we had proposed $80,000 to cover a contracted grant writer position that we would put out to RFP. With our recent receiving of the EPA Clean Ports grant, I actually incorporated grant administration into that grant process. So we're going to utilize those services and then hopefully make a good connection with a grant writer somewhere in the state or a grant administrator somewhere in the state and continue that on. So with that being said, I do not feel that we need the additional $45,000 at this time, and instead can use a smaller amount to do some grant research and grant writing and utilize the grant administration that we got in that grant funding. I said the word grant a lot of times in that sentence. The final major amendment will be that we're recommending is under general services in 7813, contribution to the Small Business Development Center position. I'm recommending that we increase this line item by $25,000. And in correlation to that, recommending a decrease under the contingency budget for street operations by $25,000 to present a balanced budget, still allowing us to have a good amount in the contingency there. So those are the recommended amendments. We have 2 options after the public comment of accepting all of those as a package, or going through and removing any individually that you'd like to talk about more and accepting them as such. But
Okay.
That's my report.
Thank you, and I will explain that process again after the public hearing. So, with that all being said, I'll open the public hearing on Resolution 2024-059. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed in?
Yes, we have 2 that have signed in, and the first one is Samantha Allen.
Hello again, Madam Mayor, City Council members, and City of Seward Administration. Thank you, and congratulations on making it to the final public hearing of the budget. We're almost there. And again, I said this in my first presentation, but again, I want to thank you for taking the time to meet with us in the work session. We heard your feedback, and we returned to you with an economic development partnership agreement. I'm sorry it's not in front of you, but I hope maybe you were able to pull it up in your email. And we are confident that this new contract aligns with the city's goals that we heard from that work session, while maintaining our sustainability to operate. So upon request of administration to provide a flat dollar amount, which would allow our office to operate and grow, our proposal outlines a 4-year contract with a flat funding allocation of $400,000, which is an increase of $100,000 annually. that also factors in annual adjustments tied to the Anchorage CPI for inflation. So we worked really hard to provide a clear breakdown of the services that we feel are important to council and are important to our community, along with their associated costs. And these services under the Economic Development and Visitor Services Information umbrella are specifically year-round visitor center operations, which includes 2.5 year-round staff and enough staffing for the Chamber of Commerce Visitor Center 7 days a week, the Harbor Derby booth, and the cruise ship terminal when there are large ships in town. The second is printed and digital informational publications like the Destination Guide, Hometown Guide, the Marine Guides, and informational maps. Seward.com website management, and finally economic development initiatives like in-kind SBDC support and travel trade shows and winter weekends. So the associated costs of these services can be found under Section 3, scope of services, but they total $400,000. So to achieve this vision, we respectfully request a council member to please direct administration to increase the chamber's line item from $300,000 to $400,000 for the 4-year contract which is proposed. And I'd like to thank administration for writing in the increase to the SBDC position, because that would have been the second ask that I asked of tonight. So again, just after rewatching that work session, one of the biggest takeaways we heard was that council really values our role in promoting year-round life and helping support a vibrant economy, or a vibrant business environment. And this increased funding allocation enables us to continue to provide the services under economic development and visitor services and destination management, while also really focusing on that year-round life and a sustainable visitation flow. So we're confident that this economic development agreement represents a fair and balanced partnership that will deliver meaningful outcomes for the communities that we collectively serve and care about. And again, to achieve this vision, we respectfully request that a council member please direct administration to increase our base funding from $300,000 annually to $400,000 annually to ensure alignment with the scope of services outlined in the agreement. These are the necessary steps to ensure that we can continue operating at a high level that we wish to, and continue to be strong partners for everybody that calls Seward home. So thank you for your time and consideration, and we look forward to continuing our partnership to promote Seward's growth and vibrancy.
Okay,
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, who's next?
The next one is Melissa Scudder.
Okay, thank you. My name's Melissa Scudder, and I live outside of city limits. Thank you, City Council, City Administration, for everything that you do for our community. You guys put a lot of work into this budget, and I can see the long hours that everybody's put into this. So thank you for working all this out. I am proud to say that I've served on the Seward Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors since 2014, so I'm going on almost 10 years. And I've seen a lot of changes in those 10 years. I'm here today because I want to show my support for the Chamber and to respectfully request that the city continues that economic and visitor services partnership with the Seward Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center. Visitor services are essential to almost every community, and they're especially essential to a community that borders a national park. I mean, people are coming to Seward. They want to see mountains, they want to see glaciers, they want to see wildlife. And for a lot of people, a community like Seward, or Seward specifically, is a bucket list travel destination. They're going to come here, whether we market them or we don't market them, whatever we do, they're still coming. The cruise ship, dock expansion is going to play a big role in that as well. And so what's really important is that we have services here to offer those visitors and give them advice and suggestions on what to do. And so having year-round staff at the visitor center who are available and they have the experience and the necessary tools to respond to those visitor inquiries and make sure that they have the resources needed to enjoy a pleasant experience while they visit our beautiful city. The Chamber plays that role. The Seward Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Center has been contracted to provide these services for the city of Seward since the 90s. And hopefully you all did get a chance to review that contract that was sent out, because if you have, you'll see that those services do come at a cost. And those costs have increased significantly over the last several years. So I am here today to ask and encourage council to request that administration amend that line item for the contributions to the Chamber of Commerce and increase that funding to match the costs that are associated with those services that are provided. And that's all I have. So, thank you.
Madam Clerk, who's next?
That is all that's on the sign-up list.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to come on?
Good evening. Rhonda Hubbard, Inside City Limits. I submitted a letter earlier last week with hopes it made it in your packet in time to read. And in the letter, I made an effort to acknowledge and bring to your attention some of the budget items that have been most emphasized and considered in this budget cycle. And it can't be denied that for a town this size, our budget represents a lot more than most similar communities in size. And as you're aware, it includes utility, various enterprise funds, healthcare component, and a variety of contractual relationships that are nuanced in a history of personnel changes and policies. Consequently, all of us are challenged often with not knowing what we don't know or even should know. So we're in this together, and I appreciate the public process and taking time to hear everyone out. Regarding the wage increase among City of Seward employees in my letter, my main purpose was to assure that you and the public were aware of the full compensation package that the City of Seward employees receive beyond just the wage rate. And employee benefits play an important role for both the employer and employee when hiring staff, so should be given fair consideration with the wage pay as well. So we heard loud and clear the availability and cost of housing challenges for employees who want to work and make Seward their home, yet I wanted to emphasize that this is not just on the City of Seward employees, this is on everyone. Therefore, I suggest that we look at collective ways that all residents of Seward could somehow realize lower costs of living per City of Seward policies and cost burdens that they have control over, like electrical charges, tax applications on daily survival and comfort items like food, shelter, energy, fuel, and utility services. While the City of Seward gets to enjoy higher revenues from our seasonal industries, it would seem only fair that we find ways that our year-round residents get some benefit from the burdens of inflated land and housing values that we are now seeing on our property tax bills and more. I know a 2-cent per kilowatt decrease starting in October 25 is being proposed in this budget, and I say, why not start with 3 cents decrease and don't charge sales tax on residential customers starting January 25. It cannot be emphasized enough that this current $20 million capital improvement project that the utility is undergoing on our electrical grid is 5 times beyond the electrical needs of our current ratepayers. Yet the City of Seward is still applying this cost burden on only 2,831 current utility customers. I feel this is grossly unfair to the existing ratepayers and should be scaled differently to reduce utility rates for all residents. As far as the health care, there is a 1% health care tax that's considering to be, or half of it used to meet the budget increases, mainly for the employee wage increase, so we don't make a similar mistake as we did with not keeping our electrical fund well capitalized and maintained. This needs to be set up and documented as a loan to the general fund when included in the budget, and I believe a loan resolution for the hospital fund is presented in your packet, possibly, or will be presented. If the city wants to continue to partner in Seward's healthcare business, then it needs to keep that department adequately funded for future improvements and maintenance of assets. If it does not stay in the business, and the 1% tax should be dropped or reduced our cost of living in Seward, or reallocated into something the collective community can enjoy. Meanwhile, the city needs to determine how it may or may not want to be fiscally involved in the healthcare business, and we know this is not easy, but it's timely and it's necessary to look at that. Lastly, and one of my biggest curiosities is how we are managing and investing the city's plethora of financial holdings. And I will preface this with noting that most municipalities like ours and their respective employees, through no fault of their own, are not super keen on managing investments as they are busy enough managing day-to-day business of the city. Nevertheless, this is becoming a big deal for our little town's books, and think we should start looking at ways we can best capitalize on the available cash. If you reviewed the 2023 annual comprehensive financial report on pages 37 and 38, you will see that we have by now about $60 million in cash, pooled investments, bonds, CDs, and/or money market accounts. And per these investments, we should be accruing a respectable amount of interest and investment income that I don't believe is accurately reflected in our budget. Per the revenue budget line from, which is line item 4500, there's a $1.36 million amount booked, and I'll be done in just a minute, in about 30 seconds.
Okay, 30 seconds. All right.
Well, and it was booked at the 6-month mark, yet it was only budgeted $500,000. And for FY 25 and 26, we're only budgeting $260,000. So with what we have invested and what is there, it seems to me that, and I don't know what more is coming for the end of the year, because we only had we had 1.35 at the 6-month mark. So does that mean we're going to get another 1.35 or what? So there's a big disparity there from what was budgeted and what we have booked for the 6-month mark. So I would really encourage the council to get some new information on that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak on Resolution 2024-059? It's your last shot. Okay, I'll close the public hearing and bring it back to council. And I think, would it be appropriate for me to begin with a motion to approve the amendments, and we can start there?
That would be very appropriate.
Okay, so I will move to approve amendments number 1 through 11 as a group, but they could be discussed separately.
Madam Mayor, I would also like to add, thanks to the eagle eye of my deputy city manager, number 9 and 10 are duplicates, so we don't need to do that one twice.
Okay, we can approve it twice, or we could scratch, okay. Let me read, just to make it more complicated for you. I will move to approve amendments 1 through 9 and amendment 11 as a group. I'd ask for a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. So now we can discuss, does anyone have an objection to any of those amendments, or wants to speak highly of them or anything?
I have just a question.
Yes, Councilmember Brown.
On primary amendment number 2, commercial vessel tax fund. That money is already there, you're just redistributing it, so it's not new money.
Yes, it's already there, we're just redistributing.
And is there was that targeted for something else?
No, so it's in a fund, so we're drawing more from that fund. So all of the cruise vessel tax funds go into an account, and so we're basing an anticipation on an increase amount there, so we're going to draw 50,000 more. And there's other funds, like other things that are funded by that are the SVAC insurance, I believe, and our Seward City Tour shuttle.
Okay,
yes,
just to kind of drill down on that a little bit. So it's our discretion how we use that fund, those funds?
Not at our discretion entirely. It has to be utilized for cruise passenger vessel benefit.
But within that category, that broad category,
yep,
we have a lot of discretion on how that's.
Yeah. So I think as we move forward and we see potential impact to the amount in that fund, it would definitely be a conversation to have of utilizing that in additional ways. But at this point in time, drawing on it for the additional 50,000, I think is the max that we would be comfortable doing due to the forecasted revenue, since it's a draw on that fund. But in the future, if it increases in correlation to more cruise passengers, we can have discussions on how best to utilize it.
Okay. Any other discussion on these amendments? We'll discuss other parts. Yes.
Just on the primary amendment number 11, or sorry, 9. That is Kellyanne's position then?
Yep.
So we would be actually taking, relieving the chamber of that responsibility.
Yeah, so that would be taking on the entirety of the contractual the contract with the University of Alaska to fund the small business development position, thus removing $25,000 from their line items.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on these particular amendments? Okay, are we ready to vote? The vote would be not on the entire budget, but just to approve amendments number 1 through 9 and 11, primary amendments. We're ready to vote, Madam Clerk?
Voting on the amending primary amendments number 1 through 9 and number 11. Barnwell,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Osenga,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
The amending items have been approved.
Okay, so then that brings us back to the original resolution, which is the budget, and we have it before us. Are there any further amendments? I guess that's where we're at. Any further amendments anyone wants to make to the budget at this time? Councilmember Wells?
Are we allowed to ask a question?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good. So I wanted to address some of the chamber talking points. Is now the right time to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can have a discussion on it as well, and then propose amendments
Right.
if wanted from said
Just like
discussion,
a
yeah.
normal-
Okay, thank you. So I didn't, when is the contract up with the chamber?
So the contract is up through the end of this year, so we were planning on bringing back the contract at the first meeting in January for approval.
Okay, so for the community, I didn't realize that when I saw the proposed contract, I thought I was way behind, and then so I just wanted to clarify that
Yeah.
we haven't been negotiating a new contract.
No, so
Okay.
it's a proposal to showcase the allocation of funds were the amount to be increased to said amount.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And with the, may I ask a follow-up
Oh,
question,
yeah.
Madam Mayor? Thank you. And with the chamber stating that they need an additional $400,000 a year.
Additional $100,000.
Oh, sorry, they need a total, yes, thank you. A total, they were wanting, I know they were wanting $400,000 a year, so what? Yeah, so an extra $100,000 a year, but by adjusting their line item, so they're not paying for the Small Business Development Center, we are, so they're just short 75 of their budget, correct?
I
Isn't
do
that
not
how the
believe,
math would work?
I believe that the proposal brought forth in the contract for 25 was predicated on no longer having to do that. So they are essentially requesting $125,000, but recognizing that if we take on that role, there's that
Okay.
difference there. Mhm.
Go ahead.
Last question.
Yeah.
Thank you. If we were to leave the budget as presented today and renegotiate a contract in January when we're all prepared to do so, if council decided to increase allocations, would that, could council say that should go into effect in 2025, or would that be a 2026, or what would that look like?
It would look like it would be an unbudgeted expense at that point. So you'll notice sometimes, or you'll notice all the time on our resolution, it'll say budgeted or unbudgeted. And so it would be unbudgeted expense and something that we'd have to be considering as we move forward in the year in allocating future unbudgeted expenses in FY25. If it was unbudgeted and incorporated into FY26, we could present mid-cycle budget adjustments and therefore present another balanced budget, but in 25 it would be unbalanced.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Other questions? Was that a hand? Oh.
That was a hand.
No? No hand? Seriously?
I have a hand.
No, I'm not trying to encourage you.
It's not in case you wanted to speak, I wanted to.
Councilmember Barnes.
My hand wasn't big enough.
Yeah.
I like Randy's idea. I think I would really like to drill down on the next contract. I'm very concerned that we're hyper focused on tourism And I, for instance, would really like to see the chamber, one, I would like to distinguish how much money's in the chamber pot and how much money's in the marketing pot. And I don't get that. It's a little bit wishy-washy for me. So I would like to know how much money of your budget, say 300 last year, 300, how much of that was for marketing and how much of that was for the chamber. And then going forward, I would really like to see the chamber, for instance, really networking with, say, the marine business and the fishing, charter fishing businesses, and having discussions about their future. And I really do think you guys should not be burdened with buying the fish. By the way, I don't think you bought them this year, right? So that's another 30 grand that you didn't have to, or you didn't spend this year, right? Is that right? I don't think you bought them. Not your fault. You did. They weren't available. But I'm just saying that I don't think that should not be a chamber burden, in my opinion. But all of this can be a discussion in January. But I guess going forward, before we decide on how much money or if we want to give more money, I think we really need to kind of define what we need to get our head around what we expect. I think that's part of the problem. Mm-hmm. You know, you guys are wrestling with we're a little bit vague in what our needs are from you. And so that if we really kind of nail that down, I think it would really help all of us. And I think part of the comprehensive plan questionnaire and that all of that will help too, but that's going forward a little further down the line. But that's my 2 cents on the chamber right now.
Anything else? I'll get Councilmember Warner first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm just curious, and I think I would ask this to council and administration, what if we had flipped that and we do increase the line item to 400,000, but then when we go through the contract, we're only allowing the contract up to, say, the 300,000, and we don't spend that whole 100,000? Like, what if we flipped it the other way?
Oh.
Would it still be the same? Because then it wouldn't be an unbudgeted item.
So it would. For the first time I'm stumped. No, not the first time. So if it was done after the fact, so if we do the budget and it's 300,000 and then the contract came forward and it became 400,000, the additional 100,000 would be an appropriation. And so that is doable. That happens. We do it often. You know, it's my finance director, Husino, is probably texting me. She's sick at home right now being like, no, that doesn't happen all the time. But it does happen. Appropriations can be done. I think flipping it the other way and budgeting it, she did just text me. Flipping it the other way and budgeting for it now is also doable, but then at that point you're budgeting for it to 400,000. So that's the narrative and that's the story that the budget's telling, so you should contractually do it to that amount as well.
So I'm going to get Councilmember Barnwell and then Vice Mayor. Okay.
Yeah, the contribution needs to match the expense line.
Absolutely. I also think it incentivizes both us and the chamber to get our ducks in a row. Mm-hmm. And if we said just 400, I think we might just let that go and it would be done. And I just think we need to light the fire on both of our ends and really kind of solidify what our roles are, or what your role is for us and what our needs are. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, Vice Mayor Osenga.
My only point was, or observation is that if we increase their to 400, then we have to make adjustments to everything that exists today in this budget.
Yeah.
So we would have to.
You would have to decrease something by 100,000.
Decrease something else to increase this to 400,000 for something that may or may not happen next year. And I'm just not sure that that's really I would advise probably not trying to do that at this point. Right. Myself, it's just a big task.
Right. That is what I was stumped on explaining, so thank you.
Yeah, I think I hear that also, that if we're going to look at the contract in January anyway, we can discuss it and maybe drill deeper, like you said, on what we really want. It doesn't mean they're not going to get an increase, it just means we need to be more focused on it, perhaps. Anything else on the budget, though? This is our chance to discuss it before we vote.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just had one more chamber question to administration. I understand that the city owns the property in the building that the chamber is located in.
Yes.
And as much...
Not the building, just the property.
Just the property?
Yeah.
Okay. As much research as I've done, I wasn't able to find how common that is.
Stumping me left and right. So inside city limits, or on property that the city of Seward owns, I believe it is just the chamber, and Tony, I'm looking at you, who else has leases that are, I think it's,
nationwide.
Oh, nationwide?
Is that common?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question
no problem.
off the top of my
Thank you.
head.
We can provide that.
We can provide that information.
Yep.
But for leases inside the city of Seward, I believe there's only 1 or 2 that are at no expense for nonprofit organizations, and that includes the Chamber of Commerce.
Thank you.
Anything else? Councilmember Brown?
Yeah, to Ms. Hubbard's comments, a couple things. One, they're good questions, like the interest rate on the accounts. I wanted the same thing. And that was as of 2023. So last year was a big market run-up. It'd be interesting to see, well, Rhonda said we had 1.3 mid-year.
1.3.
I don't know who's managing those accounts. I know that I think a third of them are in money markets of some sort. They have to be pretty fluid. And then it's really hard, because I actually asked the city manager about this same question, and it's very hard to project what might happen next year. So it's really hard to say, okay, we're going to make $2 million on these accounts next year. But again, I think it's really worth looking at, because that's a lot of money, and we should be earning our money on that. To the electrical question, I think that I don't know how many years ago we bought those generators, and I can't remember the bond we took out for those generators, but it was somewhere over 10 million, I believe. And so we've taken out bonds and spent money on electrical before, and I really am pretty convinced that we need to do that. Whether or not we could have got funding for that through some sort of federal money with a little bit more time care, I think that probably could have happened, but who knows? It's pretty hard to read that. It was pretty desperate. There was one other. On the hospital fund. Decreasing by 0.5%. If you look, so I think that hospital fund, that tax started in 1983, 1% tax. And if you look at that 1% tax in 1983, how much money it earned, relative, just if you flip that to today's dollars, with how much more sales tax we're generating these days, and bed tax, sales tax, I think that decreasing to 0.5%, we're still making more money in today's dollars than we would have in 1983, and we've paid off the bond for our Mountain Haven, and we are already, I don't know if I'm letting the cat out of the bag, but I not the cat out of the bag, the city manager just, they've been talking about working and trying to build housing for Providence in collaboration with the city. So it's not like we're just giving up on healthcare. That's a huge, if we pull that off, that's huge. So we're not giving up on healthcare. So I think that's it. Sorry,
okay.
I spoke all the time.
Anything else before we vote? All right, you sure? Madam Clerk, this vote will be the final vote, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, voting on the main resolution 2024-059. Warner?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution 2024-059 has been approved.
Okay, that means we have a budget, which means we don't have to come back for another meeting.
Yeah.
Great.
We do not. Would you like to direct council to schedule a work session prior to the January 13th meeting where we'll discuss the Seward Chamber of Commerce contract and have that work session there as well?
That would be good.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I would also like to suggest we take a 5-minute break. So we'll have a 5-minute break. We'll be back at, let's say, 8:15.
Okay, it's like, did I just make up that
And then you
date?
can call.
That is.
You can call. Losing my voice here. All set?
Oh, we did it.
Call the meeting back to order. I'm calling the meeting back to order. Thank you. We needed that break. Now we are into unfinished business. How is that the unfinished business? Yeah, it is. Resolution 2024-062. Madam Clerk, would you please read that into the record?
Yes. Resolution 2024-062, authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the Boys and Girls Club of the Kenai Peninsula in the amount of $170,000 and appropriating funds.
Okay, you'll find, oops, sorry.
This resolution was postponed on November 12, 2024.
Thank you. And you'll find this on page 192 of the packet. Madam City Manager, do you want to say anything before?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. So there are 2 points I'd like to highlight prior to discussion on this item. The first is that administration is also requesting an amendment on the contract on the floor to add under annual reports D on page 198, an amendment that adds one annual in-person report per calendar year.
You're adding a D?
A D.
Okay. One, say that again, please.
One annual in-person report to council per year. And so that was to ensure that we see consistent reporting in person as well, and have a connection to the Boys and Girls Club, and bring them into the council chambers to hear about the work that they do there. And then another note I would like to make is that in the hopes of getting a representative on the board, through the bylaws, not chamber board, in the bylaws, Boys and Girls Club board members, they don't have like an ex officio or appointed official, but on January 10th, I'll be driving to Kenai and meeting with the board president and other board representatives in hopes to present myself to be a board member on the Boys and Girls Club board. So making sure that we have sewer representation on that board and communicating representing Seward effectively in that way. So that process has started, and I will be heading over to Soldotna on January 10th to move that to the next step, hopefully. So those are my notes to add to it. I will also add that we have Mel from Parks and Rec here to speak to it, and we also have a Boys and Girls Club representative on the phone as well for any questions, comments, or concerns.
Okay, would you suggest we start with that amendment? Just to
that would be great.
Complete.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will make the amendment in the memorandum of agreement under annual reports to add an item D, which would say one annual in-person report per year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'd ask for a second, please.
I'll second that.
Okay. That sounds like a good idea. Any discussion on that? Okay, we can vote on that amendment then, Madam Clerk.
Okay, voting on the amending item number D, adding an annual in-person report to council per year. Barnwell?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That amendment has been approved.
Okay, so then that brings us to just a council discussion, I guess, of this. Councilmember Wells.
So, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. To administration, when we kicked the can, if you will, to today regarding the Boys and Girls Club, there was a lot more discussion about things that we were, and that the community was unhappy with regarding Boys and Girls Club, and therefore that's why we didn't want to appropriate that money. My question is what changed? What happened in the last 2 weeks that made it so we're all of a sudden ready to give them this $170,000?
So the conversations that we heard at the previous meeting were highlighting more of the transition with the Teen Youth Center and focusing more on what we would be doing there in tandem with this agreement, because this agreement is is dropping some of the funding to the Boys and Girls Club, and because they will no longer be doing the Teen Youth Center, and instead the Parks and Rec, as discussed earlier, will be doing the Teen Youth Center. The other issue that we heard that was brought up was the board seat, and this is or on that journey to accomplish that. The third one is transportation, and Shanette, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Yes, I can.
Oh, go ahead.
Financially speaking, we've got other clubs that have transportation or funded through the Department of Education CCLC, and the cost is around $25,000 to $40,000 depending on the driver and the route, and that's just not something that we can incur as an organization.
Okay. I see some hands going up here. This is Mayor McClure, so I'm going to ask the council members to ask their questions. I'll start with Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councilmember Warner here. Shanette, I have a question. Are there grants that Boys and Girls Club of the Kenai Peninsula would potentially be able to secure to provide that transportation and cover that cost of providing transportation for our youth in our community?
I would love to look into it. That is what I do. I've been with Boys and Girls Club 21 years, and my focus has been the CCLC grant writing. And we were able to secure $17,000 for food annually for your all's program. It didn't qualify for the CACFP child nutrition program. That's what I do. And then when they came down, when Kat and Mel came down, that was a lot of the discussion. Finding funds in a community that needs them, that's great. I mean, we're all about that. But to pull the funds currently from without the grant just isn't financially responsible right now for us.
Back up or follow up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a follow-up to that. I am aware of a grant that's currently being made available by the After School Network, housed under the Alaska Children's Trust, that would provide some funds to summer camps for youth. And I believe transportation.
The Alaska Community Foundation, I work really close with Thomas. So we are applying for grants, transportation. We can put that in there. That's not usually what the Camp Initiative funds. But I can reach out. We have a really close connection with the After School Network in Thomas.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Wells.
Thank you. So, I apologize. We, for example, we've asked the chamber for a detailed budget, or their detailed personal budget for $300,000, and we are giving. We're donating $170,000 to the Boys and Girls Club, and one of my main questions, thank you. One of my main questions is, or if I remember, one of the main issues was a lack of having a full-time Boys and Girls representative at the location here in Seward.
So they have a full-time staff member who might be in the audience, who's also very good at pickleball. I was like baffled by how good he was at pickleball.
Yeah, that's been addressed.
Okay, so that has been addressed.
That's good to know that Jacob is there. We were not trying to eliminate that position. We were struggling. And honestly, we waited a couple months. We hired Jacob and waited for him, and we think he's a great fit. His communication and what he does for Boys and Girls Club and for the city of Seward so far is, nothing but sort of phenomenal. So we're looking forward to what he brings and continues to bring.
Okay. Let me get Councilmember Barnwell in then.
I just, a couple things. I think the Boys and Girls Club working with 5 to 12-year-olds, that makes a lot of sense. It's a whole different ballgame to work with teens, and we're set up more for teens with Russ and Amanda, his staff, their staff. And I just think that's what they do, and they're good. I've watched them for years as a teacher, and they're good at what they do, particularly with that age group. I don't know the older group in terms of what they do, but they're proven. And the question I had for city manager maybe is we have a bus system. I mean, we have a city tours. Could we get creative with that or not?
We could, and actually we've been having discussions very separate to this conversation with Seward City Tours and potential for other options in the long run for year-round services. So that could be something that we add to that discussion for sure.
So
Yep.
there's potential.
Yep. I think the key is being creative and collaborating. Throughout this whole process with Mel teams and the Boys and Girls Club team, it's been recognizing that the way that it was operating might have been dividing and conquering, and instead we're going to collaborate and conquer and do things together well and bring a rising tide lifts all boats. So the Parks and Rec team can really hone in and focus on that teen youth center, and like you said, the Boys and Girls Club can hone in and focus on the age group that they had historically been serving in our community.
Okay, I saw a hand. Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to say that the current director of the Seward Clubhouse is amazing. I think they're doing really great things at the Seward Clubhouse. Both my children have attended Boys and Girls Club for 4 years now. I've kind of seen some of those transitions and the changes with the clubhouse director. My question is going to be for our city manager. The contract that was originally brought to us back in November is the same as the one that is currently presented to us now, despite some of those conversations of wanting to see some changes. I know we did make the one amendment, but how can we ensure that Seward would continue? I'm thinking of turnover. People turn over, positions change, people move into other areas. Right now, we're being told, yes, we can have a representative on the Kenai Peninsula Boys and Girls Club board, but say city manager goes, say changeover happens at Boys and Girls Club, how are we ensuring that we're continuing to have that representation without that being put in our contract?
And are you directing it?
Yes.
You know, I think that's a conversation that ebbs and flows too, based off of, like you said, who's in the position and who the personnel is and what that collaboration is. And I think these relationships is across the board with all of these organizations that we have these contractual relationships with, ebbs and flows over time. And so while navigating the charter and the code and the charter of a separate organization, having, what's the word I'm looking for? Having accountability in that realm and making sure there's a representative on the board is ensuring that the relationship between the two organizations stays strong. You know, and yes, that ebbs and flows over time, but in a year when this contract comes up again, if, knock on wood, I'm out the door and you hired a cool new city manager who's better at pickleball, then that's a conversation you need to have with that city manager and make sure that the conversation continues and you don't lapse and let the contract cycle again and again without looking at it the way that we have looked at it this time.
Good answer. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
Thank you. My question would be for Shanae on the phone. It has been a continued problem in our community in knowing how to sign up for Boys and Girls Club due to lack of just communications in Seward or just kind of lack of knowledge or advertisement kind of happening. What ways do you foresee being able to provide a solution to that?
So just so I'm clear, because it's a little hard on the phone, you're just asking for clarification or how we ensure like the communication for signing up and becoming a member. You know, I spent 18 years in a club. It's all about your community and communicating, and that was why, really honestly, Jacob has done a phenomenal job since he's come on board. I know that he's made those connections, and what Kat was just referring to, a lot of times it's who you have in those positions. We're big communicators. I've only been in my role coming up on 3 years as a CEO, and I think that's vital. I think in between the schools, it's really down there on our end. We're not going to be able to reach that the city community like what Jacob can do, and I think that's where it starts.
Okay. Do you have a follow-up? Yeah.
I do, Madam Mayor. Thank you. Thank you for that, Shanae. So just so that I'm clear, it's on the local clubhouse director to be able to put out those advertisements and put out those communications?
You're referring to like membership drive, like getting your membership up and getting that communication out. Absolutely. It's the relationship that we have with the schools that the kids are attending. It's the relationship with all of the community members. I was a clubhouse director in the 50s, and a lot of times we felt very distant out there, and it became my mission. You know, I put advertisements on the pizza boxes, I make sure it's in the post office, you know, make sure it's in the local little tiny grocery store we have out there, relationships with the elementary school and the high school. That's where all your parents are, that's where your, you know, your communication. I know, you know, your Facebook page gets a few hits, but we're looking for employees, we do the same thing. You know, everybody goes through Indeed, but if I'm in my backyard, I'm looking for the people I know, and I'm trying to push that out there in the community that lives it. So I feel like, in collaboration too, when we were looking to hire, when we ended up hiring Jacob, we reached out to the city and asked, you know, and pushed that out through them.
Okay, is that the answer? Thank you. Okay, anything else? We're ready to vote? Looks like we're ready to vote on Resolution 2024-062, Madam Clerk.
All right, ready? Voting on main resolution 2024-062. Kreitz?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Warner?
No.
Ozinga?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Okay. That resolution has been approved.
Okay. The next is new business, Resolution 2024-069. When you're ready, Madam Clerk, could you read that?
Resolution 2024-069, authorizing the city manager to approve Laurel Canyon water storage tank replacement for an amount not to exceed $3 million and appropriating funds.
Okay, and you'll find this on page 223 of the packet. I'd ask for a motion to approve in a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of 2024-069.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Administration, would you like to speak to this?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, this is authorizing the city manager to approve Laurel Canyon water storage tank replacement. And I'll let Doug speak a little bit to the project itself. But one of the reasons why we're bringing this forward to you today is we are reaching the end of the year to allocate our ARPA funds. And these are the Alaska Rescue Plan Act funds. And so the Laurel Canyon water tank was we had previously funded it with, or I'll let Doug speak to the other funding mechanism, but this resolution is to ensure that we receive the ARPA funds that our city has been allocated and earmark them for this project moving forward. Doug, do you want to speak to the project itself?
Sure. This is our Laurel Canyon water tank. We've got two of them up there up Laurel Canyon. We have a 400,000 and 200,000. 2011 did a study on them. The 400,000 was able to refurbish and do less than it would cost to do a replacement on it. The 2,000 was deemed not able to refurbish it at all. We used the funding we had at the time to do the 400,000, but didn't have enough to do both at that time. Through the years we've been working through it, we still use the tank, but it's more than past its useful life, and we're looking at, as our city uses more facilities, more things, more cruise ships, our water storage capacity is a really big thing for us. What we're looking to do is go ahead and, instead of just replacing the 200, we put a 500,000 gallon tank in there. Gives us into the future a ways to really help out Seward to keep the water supply we need. The resolution, when we first did it, I put in for a state revolving fund grant for 1.905 is what the estimate we had at the time. That's been 4 years ago, and COVID came and went, and we got back on the project, and they decided, they would fund $1,900,000 and forgive 1.5 million of that 1.9. So that was great to go through, but since then, now the price has gone up, and as we looked at how to fund it, the ARPA funds gives us another 100,000, which puts us at 2.9, right close to that. Out of that, we would have a $400,000 cost to our water fund. So money well spent for sure, and certainly puts the water storage capacity for the city in a good light.
Okay.
And any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Any questions? Yes, Councilmember.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Doug, thank you. I just have what I think is a simple question. what is the average amount of water storage, like X amount of, is it days or months that a community needs on hand, right? Like, so you know, the city has X amount of dollars saved for operating costs in case whatever, COVID happens. And so you said the new tank is 500,000 gallons.
Correct.
Right. And so how, I guess my question is, how big of a city could we have with that big of a tank?
Well, I think that to put it in perspective, our water needs and what we need. Cruise ships are taking up a good chunk during the summer. During the winter time, we're looking pretty good. A big fire would take out quite a bit. What if you had both at the same time? Right now, we're at that capacity. And I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. When we had over off of by the Mariner Motel, we had a punctured water line a few years ago. 30 minutes, we lost every bit of water through the town. Not one hydrant had water.
Wow.
So to put it in perspective, it's a quick draw when you have something like that. We started getting calls at the water, no, we don't have water, we don't have water. Now within an hour after all that, we were able to shut off different valves around that certain area and put all of our well pumps on full blast to catch back up as quickly as we could. And but things like that can happen, and so I put that in perspective. Let's say a large fire, big building, something big going, you're using a lot of water. Cruise ships, if it happens at the same time, you're filling up a lot. So
thank you so much.
We're there depending on what were to happen. That was very odd circumstance that should happen, should have never happened, but it did.
Thank you.
Councilmember Barlow.
Tag team, two questions. Do you meter water for the cruise ships? Just curious.
Yes.
You do? They pay for that water?
Yeah, they pay a higher rate than the normal.
And how are you going to coordinate with the tunnel project on that? Is that going to be anticipated to be tough?
There's no
conflict.
No problem, no conflict at all.
Okay. Any other questions? We ready to vote? Looks like we're ready to vote.
Voting on Resolution 2024-069, Kreitz?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure? Yes. That resolution has been approved.
Okay. Moving right along, we have Resolution 2024-070. Madam Clerk, could you read that?
It's Resolution 2024-070, authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal from McSwain Associates and enter into an agreement for the reappraisals of 45 lots leased by the city in the amount of $43,700 and appropriating funds.
Okay, and you'll find that on page 258 of the packet. I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of Resolution 2024-070.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask Harbor Master Szyminski to speak to this resolution.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, Council, we're just looking for your approval this evening it's a 5-year cycle. We go through and reappraise all of the city leased lots. And on this, we have 45 up this time for consideration. Last time that's a 2 increase from 5 years ago. And that will set the lease rate in July, starting July 1 of 2025.
Okay. That was the big question I was hearing from people is what is this about? And yeah, now that explains it. Any questions from council on this? No? Ready to vote? We're ready to vote.
Voting on Resolution 2024-070, Barnwell?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure?
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, and the last resolution on our agenda is Resolution 2024-071. Madam Clerk.
Resolution 2024-071, authorizing the city manager to accept the proposal from AK Tree Service LLC and negotiate a contract for vegetation management services.
You'll find this on page 275 of the packet. I need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2024-071.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Administration.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm going to ask Taylor Crocker to come speak to this.
Madam Mayor, members of the council, appreciate looking into this again. So this morning after I woke up, I was just taking a drive around Forest Acres and then kind of, around the 2nd and 3rd Avenue area to come to work, and realized with this heavy snow load, we have trees and the power lines everywhere. So next time you're driving around after a winter storm, just kind of pay attention to those lines. And anyway, earlier this fall, we put a RFP together for tree clearing. I believe we had, we had 2 people actually bid on it. There was probably about 6 companies that asked questions and stuff. And between the 2 bids, both were super professional. One was Carlos and the other one was AK Tree Service. And AK Tree Service came in at about a third of the price of Carlos. So since we have a $600,000 budget for tree clearing per year, then I want to get the best bang for our buck, and that's how we came to Alaska Tree Service. So if this is approved, they'll be able to start cutting trees in January.
Good. Okay, any questions or discussion on this? It's obviously needed. Councilmember Barnwell.
$600,000 per year?
Yes.
And how does that work? I mean, how do you guys keep track of how many trees they cut, or how do you you hold them accountable?
Yep, I was waiting for you to ask me that question. So if you go back to, I believe it was August, you approved a software called Overstory.
Right.
So the Overstory software is on an iPad that the tree crew has, and as they're trimming the trees, they're marking the sections that they're trimming. And so we have real-time feedback of the progress they're making. And so generally, if we had just a 5-year maintenance plan for tree trimming, I'd be able to tell you that we're probably going to average a mile a day, sending a mulcher down the right-of-way. Now, barring there's no fences or anything else in the way. But in Seward right now, we have 30-year growth in some of these right-of-ways. And so we're doing more of logging than really vegetation management. And so I can't actually sit here and tell you how long it's going to take per span. It really depends on that span. And so on our transmission right-of-way, we have 60-foot right-of-ways and 100-foot right-of-ways. And then on our distribution line, it's typically 30 feet for all of our right-of-ways. So it's 15 feet off the center of the line. And so if you're just driving around, you can just kind of look at them and say, hey, we have trees that are actually under the power lines, that are 30-year growth. And so in town, they're gonna have to cut those trees down. If the homeowner wants the lumber, they can take it. If not, they have to chip it and haul it away. Out of town, we're just gonna be chipping it and leaving it in the right of way because it's kind of the best practice to keep the growth down. But in, probably March or so, I'll be able to tell you kind of on average how long it's taking per span to cut. And then with the Overstory software, every year they do another scan, and so we'll get a new heat map. And so you'll be able to track your progress, but it also tracks the growth rate of the vegetation. And so we can say, okay, so our vegetation's growing this amount every year. This is, in the long term, the kind of cycle we're gonna have to be on. The other thing, not to draw this out too long, but using an integrative vegetation management plan is made possible by that software. So instead of just clearing everything in Seward, we're going to be having this crew hit all the hot spots where we actually have trees that are buzzing in the power lines, and then working our way out to the less critical. So starting with the most critical and working our way out. So they're going to be bouncing all over the area. So that's another reason why the contract is just time and materials based off of our budget and not just by the mile. Because if it was like that, we'd just have to have certain areas that we're focusing on where we actually have hot spots all over our system.
Yes, one follow-up on that. So the electric department has been doing this for the last several years. I know that our neighborhood was hit 3 years ago hard by that department. And I thought that was it for the city, but apparently it isn't. So just the question is, and I don't know if you know this or if anybody here knows that, but we're spending $600,000 a year now but the way I understand it, we hadn't spent those funds for years. How did we get away with that?
We had a lot more power outages.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you know, the linemen that work here do love cutting trees. But this winter, instead of cutting as many trees, we're gonna work basically on a full inspection of our system. So they're gonna go pole by pole, renumbering the poles, and then looking at everything on the poles with drones and getting it in our GIS system, and then also writing up a list of the condition of everything as they go down each line, so that I'll have something to work from a kind of a trend analysis standpoint to figure out where do we need to start rebuilding the stuff in town. Because right now, I mean, if you look down from City Hall, there's some old poles, there's number 6 copper up in the air, and it's like, I know that stuff needs to be replaced, but until we really do a full inspection of our system, we're not gonna have a lot of data to go off of to make intelligent decisions.
That's awesome. Councilmember Wells?
Thank you. Just gonna ask you to repeat something that you had said at the last, at a meeting where council, maybe some of the council members weren't here. I like the fact that when you talked about the necessity for the software and the necessity to put this out for an RFP, how, yes, it's $600,000 to start, but I was under the impression that once we got it under control and to where it was supposed to be, that your department would be able to forecast a budget that would actually come down a lot from $600,000 a year once it's under control. Is that correct?
I'm gonna say it depends. So $600,000 is the least that I've ever seen for vegetation management. So I just came from a co-op in Minnesota that had about the same amount of trees as Seward, and we spent $1.2 million on our in-house crew to perform vegetation management. That was a 5-man crew, but you have your equipment costs and everything that factor in. So I'll be really interested to see how many line miles we're able to get in the next couple of years. But I think the next 5 years aren't really gonna show us what we could maintain per year after we get all of our right-of-ways reclaimed. Because if we're just cutting like alders and stuff, I mean, you can just run a mulcher through it and it's nothing, right? But if you're having to take 30-year growth down, it's a much slower process.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Councilmember
It's pretty interesting stuff. You guys, I think I should have gone I should have stuck with electrical. I started out, but we won't go into that. The question, the question for you is, I forgot my question.
Yay.
No, I'm almost there. We're always trying to justify how much we spent this 20. You've heard that question earlier tonight. The $20 million or so that we spent in the last 3 or 4 years. Where are we now? On 1 to 10, say we were. I don't know where we were to begin with. Let's say we were 1 or 2 in terms of maintenance of our system. Where are we now? Are we at 5 or 6, or do you, just in your general feel of seeing different systems?
You know, so on like my list of priorities, of course, it's like the transmission project that you started already, but it's also looking at our current infrastructure and making sure that that's going to last. So typically for power poles, you have about a 50-year cycle on them, and if you're driving around Seward and you see the poles that they basically have knots all the way up them, that's called standing stock. So when those poles were put in, they probably cut them locally and, you know, stood them up, and that's like, those are original poles. And so there's some really aged infrastructure in town that seems to hold up pretty good. I'm a little concerned with some of the poles that were set in 1992 when they did the 115 infrastructure project. So on that Grouse Lake storm we had a tree that actually came outside of the right-of-way, but the pole that came down snapped in half from rot halfway up the pole. Wow. And there's no great way to test a pole for rot halfway up. So I think we're gonna have to start, you know, with these pole top inspections, and that's kind of where the drones come in. You can look at the top of the pole, you know, see if it's rotted. Typically when I'm making decisions on maintenance, it's from trend analysis. So like when we're having outages, like what's causing the outages? Is it, poles that are rotten and they're failing? Do we have transformers that are failing because of the age? Cracks in porcelain insulation, all that kind of stuff. Well, we just need to, start keeping track of those things down here so we can make decisions from it. That comes back to work management programs and stuff like that, and then also performing the inspections on our system. But I think in a year or two, I'd be able to give you a better estimate of what we need to do as far as our distribution infrastructure goes from a replacement, capital improvements and whatnot.
Okay.
Well, this sounds, it's really good that we're taking charge of all of this. I know the phone calls I used to get when the power would go out so often, besides the one time we lost water, that was like my phone blew up, But, people don't like to lose power, and they don't, but they don't realize what it takes to keep a system healthy, and our system hasn't been healthy, so we're working on it. That's the bottom line. Any other questions? Ready to vote? We're ready to vote, Madam Clerk.
Voting on resolution 2024-071. Osenga?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Mayor McClure?
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, we have two more items, and those are the two that I requested removal from the consent agenda, so we'll address them individually. The first one was the non-objection to the renewal of the marijuana license for the Tufted Puffin on 4th Avenue. And I removed it because I believe there's a council member that would like to declare a conflict.
Yes, I will declare a conflict for both of those resolutions.
We could say it for both. I agree you have a conflict on both, then we can address that. Are council members okay with Councilmember Wells staying up here, or would you like him to go out in the audience? He can't discuss this, but we're okay with him up here? Okay. So, the information's in the packet. Both of these, we'll start with the 4th Avenue one. The inspections were all compliant, and this is what we do. Administration, would you like to make a statement about if the public has issues where they should take them to? Or that's sort of a clerk thing, right?
I don't know. No. Yeah.
I can say it.
Yeah. So that would be under the clerk's office.
Did you want to make?
I can briefly.
Yeah. Just so the public knows.
They have to apply for a marijuana license, and they have to go through certain compliance checks with the city, and it goes through certain businesses or certain departments in the city, and they all have to make sure that they are in compliance with what their requirements are for having that business. And we have gone through the application, and we've sent it to all the departments, and they have come back saying that he is in compliant with all those departments.
And then in addition to that, it's a compliance with the Alaska AMCO as well. So we base a lot of ours off of that as well. So it's a non-objection to AMCO renewing that license.
Right.
As what happens with bars and restaurants with liquor licenses as well.
And we're not approving it, we're just approving that he is in compliance with all the requirements.
Right. I think that needs to be heard. So let's just, I don't remember how we do this. Would it take a motion and a second?
Motion and a second, and then a vote.
Okay.
Just like a resolution.
Okay, so before we even discuss it, we'll talk about the first one. I'll move for non-objection to the renewal of the marijuana license for Tufted Puffin on 4th Avenue and ask for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded, and you've heard the background information. Is there any discussion? Okay, so let's vote on that one, please, Madam.
Okay, voting on the non-objection or renewal of the marijuana license for the Tufted Puffin on 4th Avenue. Osenga?
Yes.
Barnwell?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Wells? Oh, sorry.
Good job.
Sorry about that. Mayor McClure?
Yes.
Yes. And that non-objection has been approved.
And then I will move for the non-objection to the renewal of the marijuana license for the Tufted Puffin on Port Avenue. And ask for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Discussion? Okay, we'll vote on that.
Voting on the non-objection, the renewal of the marijuana license for the Tufted Puffin on Port Avenue. Barnwell?
Yes.
Osenka?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure?
Yes.
Okay, and that non-objection has been approved.
Okay, now you can come back and join us. And that concludes all the business. So this brings us down to, I just wanted to point out that our next meeting isn't until January 13th, and it looks like we'll be having a work session prior to that 7 o'clock meeting, so watch for that. And this brings us to citizen comments. There's no sign up for this, and you have a time limit of 5 minutes, and I'll just take show of hands to come up and speak. Are there any citizens that, come on up. And we'll need your name and whether you're inside or outside the city limits for your residence.
Hi, good evening. My name is Michael Reeve. I live outside the city of Seward. You can call me Mike. I just wanted to take an opportunity to come down and introduce myself. I'm with Reeve Air Alaska. We are one of the 2 proposals submitted for Essential Air Service to provide flights to your community out of Anchorage. I've spoken to the number of the community council members and many business owners and people throughout Seward. When we crafted the proposal that we submitted, we get a better understanding of what it is that you're looking for and the concerns of the people. In addition to that, we researched what we can provide. Your airport has a weight restriction on it. Our aircraft all meet that weight restriction. It's as large of an aircraft that you can have coming in here until the airport is recertified with resurfacing. We studied the instrument approaches in here. Of course, the one that we currently have is nothing to write home about, but the Flight Tech has approved, or in the process of getting another one approved by the FAA, which will bring the aircraft right down aligned with the runway, and it'll improve reliability in low cloud conditions and visibility conditions. And that will be available to us after February when it's been approved by the FAA. And that'll be an opportunity then to add it to our operation specifications. The service we propose is what is in the request for proposals. It's 3 days a week during the wintertime, 6 days a week during the summertime, Labor Day, Memorial Day to Labor Day being the peak season down here. We traditionally, Reeve Air Alaska, we've been in operation for a long time. Between my grandfather, my father, and myself, it's 100 years of continuous commercial aviation between the 3 generations. What I've really focused on for the last couple decades is small markets and how can I grow them. We have always avoided the high-density markets and just focused on some of the smaller ones. We have other essential air service contracts that we are currently operating under, and each one of those, we fly to those communities more than what the minimum requirements are for the service contracts. So that has always been our goal, is to take something that we have and then make it grow. Investment in the community, we're looking at a couple of employees that would be based here in Seward. Additionally, at the airport, there is no public facilities, so we have partnered up with one of the hangar owners out there that leases space from the Department of Transportation at the state, and he has space within the terminal to start something immediately, and then with the understanding that we would like to expand that, so there would be a privately owned terminal space that would accommodate places for passengers to land and passengers to meet for departures. We have also, we had been in the past, and we are once again members of the Seward Chamber of Commerce. We've always provided charters here over the years. this is an opportunity to provide regular scheduled service. So it's really taking that next step beyond what we've been doing. And we're part of the Economic Development Partnership with the Seward Chamber of Commerce. We spoke about the airport limitations, but those instrument approach is going to be a great benefit. One of the other ones, we've talked with the gentleman, Nick, that's the airport manager under contract, he used to be with the DOT. We understand the limitations that he has, runway clearing equipment, sanding, those are the other things. We have great concerns about surface contamination. So we're in communication with him, and that's all part of our safety program. In Anchorage, we have a private lobby, but we also have a gate at the Anchorage International Airport. We've always had one. We don't use it that often because we have a lobby that people prefer to go to, but when we are operating regularly, people will be able to come and go from the gates there at Anchorage International Terminal. And then finally, we see this as a growth opportunity. You've got cruise ships coming in, more and more tourists. I've been one of those tourists my entire life. There's hundreds of thousands of people that come to Seward every year. I've always been one of them, coming and going. And this is like getting a look behind the scenes of what goes on out here. So, I will be around after the meeting. If any of you have questions, comments, or concerns, I would love to address them. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. That nasty little. I know. Anyone else? Yeah, come on.
Hi, I'm Patrick Mesmer, outside city limits. I'd like to thank the council for approving the budget and the wage increases for the employees. I know your job's not easy. No matter what you make a decision, you're going to make someone angry, some people happy, and you guys, I appreciate your service and I appreciate taking our concerns seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else? Christine.
My name's Christina Smith. I live outside Seward city limits. I first want to, on my daughter's behalf, thank Seward Parks and Rec for returning the outdoor toys to Boys and Girls Club. Next, Councilmember Wells was not wrong. I think he was talking about the email that I had sent on November 11th or 12th regarding the Boys and Girls Club and the concerns that were had by a parent and a current employee about how the program as a whole was being operated. I also did make public comment as well that it was the due diligence of the council to make sure that the operation of the contract to provide youth services through the city's funding was beneficial for the city, for the families, and for the youth of this community. You dealt with the information that you had. Voting yes on the contract and the amount, I can't disagree with that vote. Next year, I hope that you ask more, deeper questions. It was good that the CEO of Boys and Girls Club at the Kenai Peninsula was on the phone. It would have been better if they were in person. So I appreciate the amendment to include at least one in-person appearance by them a year. I think that it could be more. I hope that through my email last month and through her minimal comments today sets forth the understanding of why I did not continue my email transmissions, communication with the CEO, because that's how they were answered. When Councilmember Warner asked about communication and marketing, she passed the buck. She put it all on the shoulders of one full-time employee of Boys and Girls Club in Seward. That's a lot. And there is a lack of support from the other side of the peninsula for our current director. And he is doing a great job with what he has. He has parents that are supporting him. He has current staff that is supporting him. Without them, I don't know if he would still be director, because it is a lot that's on his shoulders. I did have an opportunity to meet with Melanie Howes after that, about a week after that city council meeting, and was presented with some further information regarding the Boys and Girls Club contract, as well as transitioning the teen center. And I did bring up that there was not only legitimate concerns for the teen programming, but the programming as a whole. So the Parks and Director was made aware of the concerns of the whole last month. The presentation today, I will just skip to my, I do want to make comments. The Teen Rec Center, I opened it on September 30th because the director said he wanted it open by the end of September. The elementary program became fully staffed, and I was able to open the teen center. At that time, I was working 2 to 3 days a week. Starting November, I was there every day that I could be for those teens. So almost for the last 6-7 weeks, it's been open Monday through Friday, 2:30 p.m. to 6 p.m. I'm a single mother. I work 3 jobs, so it was not always easy, but these teens are worth it. The presentation, there needs to be a lead, a third permanent position within Parks and Rec to open the teen center, to have someone stable there when those doors open. That's going to be there consistently. We saw a presentation tonight that showed the great things that Sports and Rec is accomplishing. I don't want the opening of the Teen Rec Center to take away from that. So being able to hire someone right off the bat to open the teen center and lead the teen center is great. Healthy snacks should be free for these teens. I know at least 2 that would have difficult time paying for snacks. So I think that's something that should be looked opportunities earlier than later. Thank you.
Rhonda Hubbard, Inside City Limits. Thank you all for tackling the budget issues. I did want to follow up on a few things. On the chamber, I do think it's smart to wait for that contract to come forward and to review that and really confirm the needs of the community and maybe the other less seasonal businesses around Seward. I think the chamber is getting involved in a lot more people management these days and activity management, and probably need to rethink their budget and operations. And they also have a new board now too, so I think it's something to look forward to after the first of the year on that, the discussions with the chamber. And I don't know, if it was me, $100,000, I'd rather see that go to our local youth activities, as that seems to be a big concern now as well. But anyway, those conversations are to be had, and glad you were addressing that. On the hospital, I didn't, and maybe I didn't want to communicate that we should get out of the hospital business, or we're contemplating that as much as just having the conversation. And because we are in the hospital business, that's all the more reason why I am advocating and promoting that 0.5% or 0.5% of those funds be booked as a loan, just because you know, there could be a need for a roof change or capital improvements on the existing assets and infrastructure. So just kind of wanted to make sure that that was reserved for those purposes. On the investment accounts, I know he said those are hard to predict, perhaps. However, they are invested in fixed income assets, which means they're in CDs or they're in securities and government bonds, as they were disclosed and listed on page 38 of the comprehensive financial review. And if you do some quick calculations, I mean, just even if you went, there's 44.8 million in investments, and if you just did a conservative 2.5% even, you'd be at 1.1 million annually. And I know CDs can be staggered or laddered, but to me, it just seems that, and I'm heavily invested in fixed incomes and other things, so I kind of know how they work, and it takes some tracking, and maybe that's why we should maybe consider someone in-house or to designate it to monitor these funds, because I really do believe that we can get more bang for our buck that's sitting there, and there's a lot of money sitting there, and it just seems that we have underestimated that particular line item of revenue. So that's all I have. Thank you very much again for your process and allowing the public to come forward there, even though I know it's required, but there's just a lot to know, and like I said, we don't often know what we don't know, and there's always more to know. So thank you again, and have a good week.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I'll bring it back for council and administration comments in response to citizen comments. Administration, you're ready to talk.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I first and foremost want to thank the entire public for coming out and communicating and engaging with the budget process. I want to thank our finance team for all the hard work throughout the entire budget process. This was Sully and I's first one as a team, and we were really excited to take notes and see what we'll do next time to improve, but we're stoked to get this all approved and to set a really good sites for FY25 and 26. But on top of that as well, I feel like we're reaching the end of the year, so I want to put a big act of gratitude to all of our city employees, each and every department that works to make sure that our city runs day in and day out. I appreciate you all and look forward to another year, because we won't see each other until January 13th, which I'm also looking forward to.
You've seen too much. Mr. Bickling, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I do. I just, I want to say thank you to council. Kat and I were talking earlier today, but this is, this last year I feel like we're beginning a lot of heavy lifting. We have a lot of city facilities that we are working things down the road for funding, fire department, public works, harbor master, public safety, police department. So anyway, it's nice to have great working partners, and there's been some bumpy times, but also too, I really do feel like we are moving things down the road for the betterment of our community. And so you guys have been great working partners, and I appreciate the conversations that we have, kind of on an individual basis to talk through things and strategize and work together and collaborate. And so, yeah, I'm just really thankful for all of you guys and the progress we've made, and I'm excited for next year and the progress that we will make. So,
okay,
yeah.
thank you. Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a couple of things. First off, I just want to make public that my no vote on Resolution 2024-062 approving the contract with the Boys and Girls Club was not because I don't support the Boys and Girls Club. I think we have an amazing director here at the Seward Clubhouse, but the contract that we saw tonight was the same contract that we postponed a few council meetings ago. I would have liked to see some changes in that, specifically around some of the things that we had already kind of talked about, securing grants, the board seat, advertisement and community communications. I'm in full support of Seward Youth. I'm in full support of our current Boys and Girls Club director. My children have been going to Boys and Girls Club their entire elementary career, and this is really the first time that they want to go. They're asking if they can go. They're not asking me, can I come home today, instead of Boys and Girls Club. So I really want to make sure that we're taking the time to support our current director. I think he is a very valuable asset to our community. And I hope that we can continue to follow and monitor that. I also want to say thank you to Parks and Rec for all that they do. They've started up their youth archery. My son has been attending that. This is his second year. They're doing amazing things. I'm super excited to see what their growth can be at the Teen Youth Center. Just a couple of community things. Kenai Mountain Turnagain Arm Association, KMTA, they're currently looking for a Seward-based program coordinator to help with some of their outdoor and history-focused youth programs. You can visit their website to learn more about that. The quarterly community baby shower is taking place on Saturday, December 21st at 11 a.m. at the community library. This event is for expecting parents and those with children 2 and under. For more information, you can contact Melanie Smith. Also, the last day of school before we go into winter break is February, December 20th. Please keep an eye out for kids during the daytime. They will be out and about. And then, of course, thank you so much to City Administration, the Clerk's Office, and Council, and all that came out to make comments at today's meeting. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Barnwell, I'm just going to go this way today.
Congratulations to the city manager and the assistant city manager and all of the city, really. I'm just super proud of you guys for what you put together. It's been a really interesting process, and it's just it's been fun to be part of. Honestly, much better than the last one, although I think the last one I skated in on the last week. So I guess that wasn't okay. I did miss a few of these, but I think I learned a lot this one, and it's just really fun to be part of. And I'm really glad that the city workers got their pay raise. I think having content, productive city employees is just fundamental, and it shows. There's a lot of good attitude in this town amongst the city workers. It's fun to watch. So I'm really excited to see that. And I agree with Jason. There's just a lot of good projects, a lot of things happening here. The Public Works, the Harbor Master, thanks Taylor for coming in. I think it's really great to have you with MEA. Just kind of kicking our butts a little bit and making sure that we're in gear. And then the Boys and Girls Club, the Parks and Rec, they really are quite a team, and it's really made a change in this town for the better. And then finally, the airport guys at Reeve. I lived in Aleutians for 10 years, so Reeve Aleutians. And when I was a kid, my best friend was his dad was a pilot for Reeve Aleutians. He was one of the pilots that crashed under the lake when they lost power out in western Alaska years and years ago. Tom Hart? Yeah, and Tom Hart actually died in a plane crash out of Costco. Anyway, good friend of mine. But it's really good presentation. Really excited to have you guys here.
Anything else?
I have a few more things. No, I'm kidding. Thanks, you guys. Yeah.
Okay, Councilmember Will.
No. I too lived in Dutch Harbor and went to high school there. But first, echo everything with administration. This is my second budget session, and rumor on the street, my last. But I want to say how impressed I was working with this team and how much I learned. So whether that was over the last 3.5 years of me learning, or you guys just knocked it out of the park. So I want to say thank you. As far as the Boys and Girls Club go, I'm sure you guys could hear the pause in my voice, and the reason why I voted yes is because of my level of confidence in our administration, and I trust them 100%. So I know that you're going to make it work. Lastly, I want to state that I only received one letter of objection to the wage study and the wage increases. And that business owner was here tonight and spoke 2 different times. And I want to state that how impressed I am that of the 30+ letters I received, 29 were in full support of the administration's decision for the wage study, and I'm super happy for all the employees. Thank you.
Councilmember Kreitz.
I got several things. First, I wanted to thank Sports and Rec for the presentation. My daughter went when she was younger when it was TYC, and so it's just kind of impressive to see the things that they're doing and just kind of bringing everything more up to date, more activities, so I really appreciate that. Second is
I was thinking on the same lines as Councilmember Barnwell when we were talking about transportation for the Boys and Girls Club, grants and using the city, Seward City Tours. I know that's something that at the health center that we did off of a grant, so we could have free medical transportation for doctor's appointments. So I think that's a great idea to start looking into something like that. And as far as the Boys and Girls Club marketing, I wanted to just make a comment. I do think we're at a huge disadvantage not having a newspaper anymore. So I think that's where a lot of information is lacking. I know I miss things constantly. I'll look and it was, 2 days ago that you see it on Facebook that it happened. So I would encourage everyone to take the city's comprehensive survey because that is one of the items that's a question in there. So. And fourth, I want to thank the electric department. I'm seeing some huge improvements that they're, the things that they're doing to make our utility better. And I think since we voted to keep our utility, that we should be definitely doing those things. So I appreciate everything they're doing. And I am excited to get air service here in Seward. I just want to say, not only for the tourists, but as being a healthcare provider, it's exciting for me to see that this is another option for medical transportation as well. And you gave me some PTSD because I took the worst flight of my life to the village last week. So thank you much.
Okay, Vice Mayor Osinga.
I'm just, I'm in total agreement with what's been said by everybody else. I think this was a really good year, and I thank administration. I thank all of you on the dais here for everything that we've been able to do. I thank, of course, all the citizens for all of their comments and input. I think that's very important. And I would just like to say, hope everyone has a joyous and wonderful holiday season. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Okay. Well, I'll echo most of everything that's been said. I'm really impressed with the budget. Thanks to everyone who put it together, department heads, everybody, and of course administration. And all of you guys that sat up here for all these work sessions and went through everything. I think this is a very positive, forward-thinking budget. The wage increase, when I was at AML speaking with some of the 100 other mayors in the state, I was patting myself on the back all over the place because it seems that we are a little more progressive, forward-thinking than many of the other cities. With what we have, we're doing some forward thinking, and I think it's time. Supporting the employees, working on our electrical infrastructure, all of those things. I have to say that when sitting around the table with all the mayors, we meet the whole day, and one of the questions was asked, well, we were asked two questions. What are your biggest problems, and what are your biggest accomplishments in this last year since we last met? And I sat there and listened to everybody telling their problems and very few people saying their accomplishments, and I was afraid I would be gloating if I told them how we've done so many things forward thinking wise. But the other thing that just is stunning is everybody has the same problems. The lack of a newspaper, that came up all over the place. Of course, affordable housing, childcare, everything. We're not alone. Every municipality and village struggles with these things. But I got the sense leaving that what we have that a lot of the others don't have right at this very moment is a group of people up here on council who work well together. We laugh a lot because I think we enjoy each other's company, oddly, but we do. And we work well with the administration. We've got an excellent administration, and we work really well with the clerk's office. Those are the three that really get things done up here. And a lot of places don't have that grace. They are infighting, and so anyway, I walked away from that feeling really proud of Seward, and that's it's nice to be able to say that because I don't know that all the rest of them felt that way. The other thing is just to have a really good Christmas time. We kicked off the music season, well, it's been going on, but we had the open house at the museum where I got to play a bit, and the group played, and I got to interact with the Grinch and Santa Claus and the chief out there lighting the tree. I had the community choir concert that was well attended, and I gotta say, I was surprised. It was just wonderful, and as usual. So Christmas is coming. Be careful, the kids will be out. Some of them are out already, it appears. So I'm losing my voice because I've been talking too much. Anybody else have anything last minute? Then I'm going to adjourn the meeting at 9:26. Have a happy holiday. Good to talk.